Hello guys, today's video focuses on a man who spent most of his youth preaching against the Synagogue Church of All Nations, and who at some point when everything had gone in his life returned to the same Synagogue Church of All Nations for deliverance.
I'm Pastor Gabriel Ikbenwa. I have a lot to say, but before I go on, please, I would like to say I have actually blackmailed the man of God a lot, Prophet T.B. Joshua.
His name is Pastor Gabriel Ikbenwa, and according to his testimony / confession at the Synagogue Church of All Nations, he used to be a very important member of the youth organizations during his school days, and using his positions then, because he had a lot of positions, he made sure to preach against the Synagogue Church of All Nations just because that's what those above him told him to do. So he says, in quote, he blackmailed the Prophet T.B. Joshua a lot, and he preached messages against him. But during his testimony / confession time, he said in tears that he regrets the messages he preached because, yes, some people have been saved now, but a lot more people could have been saved if not for the messages he had preached in the past. So Pastor Gabriel was so much against the Prophet T.B. Joshua and his ministry that he didn't allow anybody in his house to say anything about him or view his TV channel, and he happened to also block the channel so nobody could view it.
I have preached a lot of messages against the man of God as the Antichrist of our generation. The level of my ministry, I have been the president of Joint Campus Fellowship in Nigeria during my university days, throughout my days in the university.
Then at some point when he was ready for marriage and wanted to propose to his wife now, he found out that a lot of things started going wrong. First, his microfinance bank, his job, his business, everything started going a kind of way. And he had some attacks as at the time, but he pushed through despite all these things and married that lady. After the marriage, things didn't get better, they got worse. He also noticed that he had lost his power. He used to be a very strong pastor, but he noticed he had lost whatever essence he had that made him the man of God he used to be. So at that point in his life, he started seeking help from different people because he needed someone to mentor him, someone to bring him back to what he used to be, if not better. But all efforts went to waste. There was always one thing or the other hindering him, hindering his plans to get back to what he used to be. Then at the point it felt like there was no other way, he remembered that man he used to preach against so much at some point in his life, because by now he had lost his business, he had closed his church, and he was basically just any other person. He didn't stand out like he used to. So he started watching the Synagogue Church of All Nations channel on low key. Nobody in his house knew he was watching it. He made sure to watch when nobody was around or aware. And he said one day his wife stumbled upon him watching the TV channel, and she exclaimed and said he should turn it off. She wasn't happy. He did that as she told him, but later he went back to watching the channel and little by little convinced the wife to join him to watch. So the funny thing is, on the first day he went to the Synagogue Church of All Nations, he said he dressed in a very, very, very much extreme disguise because he didn't want anyone to know that this is that man who so much preached against the Synagogue Church of All Nations. What is he doing here? Those kind of questions, or he just to avoid people staring at him or people asking questions. And that was the day he actually realized that all those things he preached about didn't actually have any essence. There was no truth to them, because he got to see the church he preached against, and he didn't see any bad thing about the church. So for that day, he made sure to stay till the end of the service, till the very end, till everybody had left, to be sure. And the next time he visited the Synagogue Church of All Nations, his disguise wasn't that much anymore, but there was still disguise, and that was just like to confirm if what happened the first day was the same thing that was going to happen. So that second trip kind of made him seal his mind, made him make up his mind, and made him also realize that he was a lot ignorant. He didn't seek knowledge. He only took what those higher than him told him to do without verifying if that was true or not. And he felt so foolish. He had a lot of regrets. But in the end, to cut the story short, this Synagogue Church of All Nations is what delivered his wife, and his life is a lot more better, and his life is a lot improved. He actually got a lot out of the same place he discouraged people from going. And to conclude it, the Prophet TB Joshua was happy, and he called the man his advertiser. He said the Lord used him to put him out there. Before him, nobody actually knew about the Synagogue Church of All Nations. But though the man was doing what he did against the church, but it was God's way of putting the church out there, making people know about this church. So the advice Pastor Gabriel Ibenwa gave was that people shouldn't be ignorant. They should try to find facts to whatever information they have before putting it out there. And according to the late Prophet TB Joshua, finding the facts is what makes a good leader. It's what makes a great leader. You just don't send out information. You find the facts before sending out those or any information. That's what makes you a good leader. So that's it for today, guys. Make sure to subscribe, and you will see more videos like this. Thank you, and bye.